All right, all right, all right. Welcome in Toilets to Titles, episode number 182. This evening, me and my guy, Justin Stevens, we are talking fantasy football breakout players. And yes, last week we talked about sleepers. And yes, breakout players and sleepers are completely different things. Sleepers are a guy that nobody's talking about, that's kind of come out of nowhere. A breakout player is a player that's just ascending. They're going to take a step into a bigger role in the upcoming season, and they're going to pronounce themselves as here. We've arrived. And those are the type of players we are talking about this evening. And I've already announced his name. It's my guy, Justin Stevens, at JustinFF_ on the Twitter. Justin, what's cooking?
Hey, wonderful, wonderful. And for those of you that can catch the little Easter egg in the background here, we're talking breakouts. If you are old like me and you remember this game, then please drop it in the comments and tell me what other Atari games you grew up on. So obviously, let's throw out all the obvious ones, the Pac-Man and all that. But throw me out some of those obscure games, and I bet you I probably played it when I was a kid.
Man, so Justin's a gamer all of a sudden.
Yeah,
I'm a gamer.
been since I was a kid.
But like, I'm excited that this part of your personality is being revealed to me currently because your Atari is different than the types of games we're talking about. So Mark Schofield was on before a few like last year, and then he was on again a few months ago. And me and him, like, I found out he was a huge Bethesda Skyrim buff, and Starfield's coming out. They just, if you haven't looked into Starfield, so I'm getting ahead of myself. Justin told me this evening he just started Skyrim. And Skyrim is one of those things. So anybody out there who's plays video games, it's the Xbox, PlayStation, played Skyrim, you know what I'm talking about. Anybody who plays fantasy football, there's a good chance there's a nerdy side to you, right? So there's a good chance you might have. And if you haven't played Skyrim, I wish I never played it so I could pick it up and play it for the first time. That's how incredible that game is. And if you like it, after you invest 4 or 5 months of your time into this game, there is a rabbit hole I could send you down of other games created by the company that made Skyrim, but they're more your personality. Like Fallout is like has a dark undertone of sense of humor. It's post-apocalyptic, made by the company that made Skyrim. Like, not it's dude. So when you're just dive into Skyrim, and then Fallout's coming up next. So I'm
Yeah,
super fired up that you're going down that path.
I'm playing mine on the Switch. I don't know if that tells you anything.
I've never played it on the Switch, but it don't matter, dude. You
Yeah.
know, Skyrim is the world of Skyrim is incredible. Wherever I remember the first time uploading that game and just seeing the map, like there would be moments I'd be going around like, man, coach is fanboy right now. So Nino said we're looking good. I got a fanboy over Nino. So Nino is in the background, always pulling the strings, and he hooked this up, man. He's always doing the overlays and the banners. So the dude's busy, and he takes his time out of his day to come in and upload this for me. So I appreciate you. But yes, I am fanboying, and I get to talk to my buddy about it, Justin Stevens. So we'll talk. We'll have some of the chaps.
Yeah.
I don't want to bore everybody, but Starfield, bro. The company that made Skyrim have been working on Starfield for like 15 years, and it's Skyrim in space, and there's like over 1,000 visitable planets. And it's going to be absolutely incredible. So you're catching on to Bethesda, which is the company that made Skyrim, at the right time, because the world is your oyster, my friend. So anything, what else is going on, Justin? You're jumping into Skyrim. School's over. You're a teacher. Like what's up in your life right now?
I have two different calendars and schedules up and going, and I've been knocking out items right and left with my schoolwork and with the network, different things going on in the background that I'm trying to learn and figure out. So we got a lot of moving parts, and
Oh my God.
but we're all rolling right into this big time of the year for our network. So I'm excited. I'm excited. We call it, a lot of people call it the off season, and this is really when we kick it in. So I'm working on the Frankenstank stuff coming up really soon. You've been working on the Frankenstank, I should say, but
Yeah.
I'm excited about the Frankenstank. How about
But
that?
everybody's kind of like, on task with Frankenstank because I kind of, Campy's been working on it. You've been working on it. I've been bouncing things off of Nino. So, like, even though I'm like, thinking about it a lot and putting stuff together, you all are keeping me in check and making sure things line up. So even the new guys are like, I'm bouncing things off of to see how they feel about it. Cause we have a few new members to Toilets Titles. If you're unfamiliar, if you're watching us for the first time, first off, we have a goal. I wanted to get to 1280 subscribers by Sunday. I believe we're at 1276. So it'd be greatly appreciated if you hit the subscribe button. I promise you, it'll be worth it. I'm asking you to do it for me, but essentially you'll be doing it for you because the chances are we have something that you will be looking for. We got head-to-head IDP coming up after this. We got a Packer show, a Cowboy show, a Giant show, a Jaguar show, a Ram show, a gambling show. We got Sunday Night Live, which is just basically NFL discussion. It's all sorts of fun stuff. So you want to subscribe so you can get into that. So go ahead, Justin.
And the off-season breakdown episodes, we have 2 scheduled for this week. Tomorrow, I will be doing the Titans breakdown episode with the Locked On Titans podcast host, and then we've got the Jaguars. We've got Demetrius Harvey coming back on Thursday for the 3rd year in a row for Demetrius, and he is a reporter for Big Cat Country down there. So a couple of pretty big names, a couple of guys very knowledgeable in their team. So if you're a fan of the AFC South like myself, a couple more big episodes coming up this week.
Hell yeah. And we are just nonstop. And like Justin said, he's got that coming up. We're also going to have some fun day draft shows coming up, which those are a lot of fun. So we're clearly ready to get to work. If you want to point us in a direction to start digging, because we'll bring the shovels, you tell us where to dig, get in our Gilded chat. Reach out to me on the Twitter at Coach Sheps. Reach out to the show at Toilets to Titles. You can reach out to Justin at JustinFF_. Hey, I want to be a part of the title tribe. We will send you a link to the Gilded chat. We have over 140 people in there. We're doing mock drafts. We're talking SFB 13. We're talking IDP. We're talking gambling. Anything football related you could want is in there. And then our sister network, the CFB Nation, right? We got KT, we got Boomer, we got obviously Nino, who's going back and forth. We got D-Now. Like, they're also nonstop. You got Moon over there. So if you're not interested in the NFL, if you're interested in college football, we got that covered too, man. And they got a Gilded chat as well, so I can link you up with them if that's what you're looking for. So Frankenstank, what Justin mentioned, we're going to talk about that real shortly. But good way to get in there. It's either to get in the Gilded chat, sign up for our Patreon, which we'll also talk about in a little bit, or throw us a 5-star Apple review. Frankenstank is $25. You'll get in no matter what. If you throw us a 5-star Apple review and DM it to me, you'll get in for free if it makes me blush. All right. So last week, we debuted the first new card of the offseason, the 13th card, which broke the evenness, right? Because Frankenstank is 12-team divisions. We're up to 5 divisions, I believe, 5 or 6. I don't even know anymore. We have a lot of divisions. We have 96 teams. So do the math teacher. I came from softball, so my brain's fried. But
that's 8, I believe. 7
okay. So now we had 12 cards for the 12 teams. This year we were like, we want to have more cards than there are teams per division. So each division could be a little bit different. So if you want to know about all the cards, you can go back to episode number 180 where we talked about a lot of them, or you can just get into Frankenstank, which is our fantasy football listener league, and read the bylaws. And all the cards are in there. But last week we debuted the Freddy Krueger card. Shout out to Sean McDonald, who's in the league, also my cousin, who sent me the suggestion. All right, so the Freddy Krueger card, if you want to find out about that, go check out episode number 181. Okay, we're going to tell you about the 14th card very shortly. But I do want to let everybody know there are 32 teams still available. So last week we had, I want to say about 45, 46. So we filled 14 teams in a week. Spots are filling up quickly. Again, it's $25, 12 teams per division. Okay. Multiple copies of each player. Go ahead, Justin.
And if you know that you're going to be at Canton in August, you can get in on the Canton League as well. Just make sure you DM me at JustinFF_. Let me know, because we're going to be doing a live draft there, or at least getting everybody signed up and ready for the live draft to kick off at the point of the expo. So if you're already definitely going to be there, just let us know, and we'll make sure we reserve you a spot in that one as well. And you also mentioned the Fun Day Draft. Just to give a quick heads up to everybody, this time I was going to do it this weekend. My son's birthday is actually on Father's Day this year. It happens every
What a
7 years. So he is taking me out to a beer tasting because he knows his dad very well for Father's Day. So I'm not doing the Fun Day Draft show this weekend like I had planned. We're going to do that next weekend. It'll be Friday night when we record it. And I usually ask the Patreons, and I will this time, if you want in as well. So when you get to the Patreon, think about that, because if you want to do a draft of your favorite superheroes, that's going to be not this Friday, but next Friday. So,
All right. And you get to be on air. All right, so you get to be on air, you get to be on the show, like all that's cool. So, and what Justin was referring to about the FF Expo and the Canton division, so we have 32 teams available, and then we have an additional 11 available for a league, or rather for a division that is going to be filled at the Fantasy Football Expo and is going to draft in Canton. So if you're going to be in Canton and if you're interested in drafting live, this will be the first time the Frankenstank League has ever drafted live. Reach out to Justin and he can work on securing you a spot. And what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to let everybody know, if you have Apple Podcast, throw us a 5-star review. Not only is that going to get you in Frankenstank, I am going to send you, I'll get you in Frankenstank, DM me the 5-star Apple review. I'm going to send you one of these sweet lanyards. Right, so you can walk around like one of those cool kids at school, dangling your keys off this thing, twirled around your fingers, like you don't care. Like, I don't have a care in the world. Everybody thinks that cool. Even if you have a care in the world, you can act like you don't. Just twist this thing around your finger, carry your keys. It is cool, man. That's what we suggest. All right, now the card number 14 has arrived. All right, and this one is gonna make things a little bit interesting. And card number 14 is, oh, let me pull that down. What an amateur I am. Let me go here. Now let me do it. It's Rumpelstiltskin. Some people might say, is Rumpelstiltskin a monster? Look at this guy's face. This guy is a monster. He was the villain of one of the Shrek movies. And last week we teased it. We said,
we dropped a hint.
Tell them about the tease last week.
Yeah, so last week you had stated that if anybody could name the monster that we were going to be presenting this week for the first time, then you would get a free entry into the Frankenstank. And Uncle Steve actually called me, and we talked about it, about his opportunity to get in for free. And I'm not going to just give him the answer, but yeah. So if you would have guessed his name, which is the whole basis around the story of Rumpelstiltskin, you could have gotten in for free. But yeah, so we have Rumpelstiltskin here. And here is what this card does.
All right, wait. Let me pull it up, and then you can. All right, have at it.
All right. So prior to your week's matchup, you can play this card to block a specific player from being taken from your roster in the event that you lose. Oops. Your opponent will not be made aware that you have used the card. This is the only card we have like this so far. Your opponent will not be made aware that you have used the card, or which player you're deciding to block. So let's say you have Pat Mahomes on your roster, and you have chosen to save Pat Mahomes with that card. Now, if your opponent tries to steal the player that you blocked from being stolen, then you get to keep the player, but then in return, you also get to steal one of their players. Do I have that right?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So now, you block a player, right, before the week. So you're kind of playing a guessing game, right? So you're playing chess. I'm going to block, I got Patrick Mahomes. This guy needs a quarterback. I'm going to block Patrick Mahomes. And if your opponent tries to take Patrick Mahomes, you've already blocked him. You get to keep him, but now not only do you get to keep him, you get to take a player from his roster. But if he takes another player that you didn't block, you lose the card. So it's like
Now here's two more things that this card brings up. For one, it brings up the fact that since it's a secretive card, no longer can a T2T member be in charge of your division and still play in that division at the same time. From now on, we have to monitor divisions that we're not playing in, which is fine. We're monitoring a division either way. But what I really like about this card too, the second twist, it says this card can be played as often as you'd like until you have played the card and your opponent chooses a player you did not block. So in other words, if you choose to save Pat Mahomes and he chooses to steal Jonathan Taylor instead, then you saved Pat Mahomes, but you didn't really use the card. So you get to try to use it again next week.
No, you lose it.
What?
You only get to use it again if you're correct. Like
Oh,
if you block the player, you have to win. Like Rumpelstiltskin. Like
Gotcha.
you got to win. So if you block, so you're playing chess. So you have to think, all right, he's going to try. He knows I'm going to block Pat Mahomes. So maybe I shouldn't block Pat Mahomes. Or maybe I am going to block Pat Mahomes. So you got to try to guess who he's going to take.
Right.
If he takes that player, you keep your card, you pick a player. If he doesn't take that player, you lose the card. So you could lose it week one or like the first time you use it.
Right.
Or if you're a good guesser, this thing could be super powerful.
Right. Or also look at it from the other person's standpoint. Let's say I beat you and I'm trying to steal one of your players.
Right.
I have to decide who you're using that card on.
If
you're
using it.
You also may not even be using the card. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. it.
This one's good. Like it's kind of like the Ghostbuster card is a card that blocks a monster card being used against you. That one was very powerful last year.
Right.
And I think this card rivals it.
Right. Yes, for sure.
Because it's mind games.
Yeah.
You don't know if he played it or not.
Like you said, at bare minimum, this is like a top 4 card. But if you get the opportunity to use it a second time, it's a top 2. If you can use it a third time, it's the best card in this.
And you already stole. You lost twice, didn't get a player stolen from you twice, and then stole 2 players.
Right. Now, what happens if you play the card and you win your game outright?
I got to figure that out. I think I got to make it a wash. Like it doesn't count.
Card. Yeah.
Yeah, voids the card, but like you get to play it again. But we'll talk about it. That's a good question. That's why it's June. We're figuring this stuff out, man. Like and that there's also, so we talked about it last week. We talked about it on episode 180. There's other cards we want to kind of make a little stronger. I'm not going to get into the one we've been discussing. Last week, I already knew we had this card in the books. I'm not sure so I don't know next week if we're going to be debuting a new card. I don't know if next week we're going to be debuting a new rule. We're kind of going to brainstorm over the next few days and see where it goes. But I'm pretty excited with these two. We're not going to push it. We don't want to force things. We want it to be organic and natural because I feel like this league's good. I think this is a very good league, and I don't want to overdo it. So I gotta walk the line of being creative and adding excitement, and then just doing stuff just to do it. So and the beard does look fuego, Justin, like hot boy summer.
So we're gonna have to do an episode just 100% based on the cards, and we're gonna have to do them in blocks so that we can break those down into shorts as well.
Yeah, and not for nothing, we have the original 12 cards. We have a bunch of them. So I told you I'd give you one of these sweet lanyards if you throw us a 5-star Apple review. Okay, and you DM it to me. Told you get into Frankenstank. I'll also send you a card of your choice. I'll show you them all through DM. Send you some pictures. And you can say, hey, I want that Dracula card. I want blah, blah, blah. I want that one. I want the Blob. I want the Silver Bullet. I'm a Ghostbusters fan. I want, the Slimer card. So whatever. That's it. So Justin, do you have anything else to say about Frankenstank before we move on from this thing?
No, sir. In our document here, I'm going to type up something on that Silver Bullet for you to consider because I just thought of something. All
right, cool. All right, so this brings us to a new segment, Justin. So I'm gonna pull you out. You could pull yourself out. And this segment was inspired by my guy, Nino. All right, Nino's like, Coach, sometimes you go on a rant, and I think the listeners enjoy this. So we're gonna do something called Coach's Corner, and it's gonna be about something every week, something I'm passionate about, something that either grinds my gears or I want to talk up. And I was talking to Justin. Hey, what would be the first topic for Coach's Corner? Just like, how about some players, that gets you fired up or you don't like? And then the other day, I was out at an event. I'm a Cowboys fan. I live in New York. Okay, I grew up in the 90s. My dad was cool enough to let me pick a team that I wanted to cheer for. I remember sitting down and watching my first Super Bowl. I remember the cake my mother made when the Cowboys played the Steelers in the Super Bowl. It was a football shaped cake. It looked like a football. And I also remember she had nothing to put for the laces in the ball. So she used those little red dots, like the little red hots. They're like cinnamon flavor. That's what she used for laces. I still remember what that tastes like. All of those memories. I was like 8, 9 years old. That's what made me fall in love with football. So here's my coach's corner for the week. Don't be a jerk. Don't be that guy who starts a sports conversation by saying something negative about the other guy's team or the other girl's team. I mean, if that's how you grew up and if that's what your friends like, that's fine, man. But when I walk into a room and I'm starting a conversation, I'm starting with sports. We do a podcast. We know a decent bit about football. I know a decent bit about everybody's team. I like to talk guys up of the team that guys like, so we can build some conversation. Then we can get into breaking stuff down. But this week, Coach's Corner statement: don't be a jerk. Don't be that guy starting a negative conversation. Start a positive conversation. Let's talk sports in a polite, kind, uplifting manner, especially in June, right? It's June. Like, we got 3 months until the NFL season starts. All right. You could be pissed off in October. In October, we can be at each other's necks. But until week 1 comes, let's be kind to each other this summer. Let's uplift each other and let's speak positive about each other's teams. So, Justin, you can come back in here, my guy, because Coach's Corner is officially done. Hope y'all enjoyed that.
That was sweet, man. I like it.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. And hey, if you want to support the show and be sweet, patreon.com/toilets titles. I'm not going to read up all the tiers. Well, Justin, that's your thing, my guy. You're the Patreon guy. So go ahead, my man. Tell everybody about it.
I too am not going to read off all of the tiers, but we do have the $1.50 tier, which seems to be the popular one going right now. It'll get you into that gilded chat that we keep mentioning. It makes you an official Title Tribe member, with some perks coming up down the road with a special sponsor starting soon. We'll get into that a little bit more in a couple of weeks. But being a Title Tribe member gets you that opportunity to get in on all of that with us at the ground floor level. The $3 level is the exclusive content in the Gilded Chat. This is where you get to drive our content. You get to get into a chat room within the Gilded, and tell us what you want to hear. Tell us what kind of an episode you want to see. Tell us what's on your mind. Maybe you just want information on one particular player. We can do a quick short for you, whatever it takes. And then the $5 level is the last one I'll talk about this week, but that is our early access to the waiver wire episodes. With the season coming down the line, down the pipe here soon, we're going to have some pretty special idea for the waiver wire episodes. A little something different that I'm cooking up. So it's also going to have something to do with the Gilded Chat as well. So you still got to make sure that you're in on that Gilded Chat, which you are if you're a Patreon supporter.
I love it. I love it, Justin. I'm going to keep you going, man. I've spoken enough this evening. I'll pick back up in a few minutes. I want you tonight. We're talking about breakout players, man. So why don't you read off 1 or 2 breakout players that you expect to come out 2023 NFL season?
All right. So the first one, I was kind of borderline on whether or not I wanted to type this dude up as a breakout player. Then we got to talking about things that kind of set you off a little bit. And I realized I have to type him up. Then I saw a TikTok from a dude that said that this player is not going to be a breakout, and people need to quit saying that based off of his last 6 games of the season last year. So that made me even more want to make this guy my number 1 breakout. And it's because of so much more than just those last 6 games. But that player is Cam Akers. Cam Akers finished as the RB31 last season, and his average numbers over those last 6 games when healthy are as follows. He had 17.3 carries. That was the top 12 4 of the 6 weeks that he was in there. He had 17.68 points. We're moving the screen here. Is that you moving the screen? All right. So, okay, 73.8 snap share percentage in those last 6 games. That was top 12 4 of the 6 weeks as well. And with one of those weeks being 100% of the offensive snaps, he did not come off the field on offense during one of those games. They really want to utilize him. 17.68 points per game in fantasy points per game, PPR. That would have made him the season-long RB6 overall. So had he continued that over the course of the entire season, he's RB6. And the reason he didn't was because Darrell Henderson was there for an awful lot of it, and he's not there anymore. They have Kyron Williams there right now. That's the biggest threat in the backfield. Now, granted, like you said, this is still June. Maybe they go out and they get an Ezekiel Elliott, or they get some other running back that's on the market right now. And if that happens, then obviously a lot of this changes. But if they don't bring anybody in to spell him, he's going to dominate. He also had 6 touchdowns over the course of that span as well. So that's a touchdown every single game. Um, and so that's what I have down for Cam Akers. Like I said, the guy was a monster when they actually decided to utilize him and when he stayed healthy.
I like how you kind of try to set me up. You were like, "Hey, why don't you do a coach's corner on Cam Akers? I know you think he stinks," and then you were going to come out and rebuttal me. So you wanted to have a Justin. You got upset that I was doing a solo segment, and you wanted to rebuttal my solo segment.
No, I wouldn't say that. I just wanted to upset you in general.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. All right, this might upset you. This might upset everybody. One of my breakouts this season, Trey Lance. Everybody's throwing dirt on this guy. I get it. North Dakota State only started one season, then COVID hit, played a game. Was a backup his first year, only played one game in the NFL, has to change his throwing motion. I get it. All right, but we haven't seen enough of him yet. I'm not ready to throw the dirt on this guy because he got hurt. Okay. And then because somebody came in and looked excellent, that was Mr. Irrelevant. I get it. That makes me feel better about Trey Lance. The fact that Mr. Irrelevant came in and looked very good in the Kyle Shanahan offense. I think Trey Lance can do that. All right. He finished outside of the top 50 quarterbacks in 2022. He's definitely a breakout candidate. That's because he was hurt. He's got Christian McCaffrey. He's got Brandon Ayuk. He's got Deebo Samuel. He's got George Kittle. He has studs everywhere. They still got Trent Williams. They're in a position to be very, very good this year. And he can run the football. He reminds me of a young Dak Prescott. Shanahan's had some time with him. We are going to know if he's the future or not after the season. It could burn and he could get replaced. It could be Darnold. It could be Mr. Irrelevant. But I don't see that happening. I still believe in Trey. That's it. Point blank, period. I especially given the ADP, given where people are drafting him, nobody wants to take a chance on him. So for me, I believe he will definitely not finish lower than top 50. I definitely don't think he finishes lower than top 30. If he plays 16 games out of a 17 game season, I believe he finishes top 15 in fantasy scoring for quarterbacks.
I can agree with that. I can agree with top 15 because of that offense. And just like you said, if they made Purdy look good, anybody can look good in that offense. I can agree with that. Top 15.
And I'm not trying to be mean about Purdy. I'm
Right.
just saying, like, like Brock Purdy came in after being drafted, like, so the whole NFL got it wrong. Like, come on. I'm sure the guy's a decent football player, but I don't know if he's as good as that offense made him look.
For sure. For sure. So my next one, you talked about at the beginning of the show how sleepers are a little bit different than breakouts. Some of these guys can be the same. Some of them can fall in the same category here. And Chigoziem Okonkwo. I'm hoping that that's right, but I'm going to call him Okonkwo because I at least know I have that part right. He was the tight end 21 last season. The reason why many of you didn't know of him in the first part of the season is because all of his stats started coming on towards the end of the season, and he still finished as the tight end 21 overall, which isn't good by any means if you're talking tight ends. Obviously, after the top 4 or 5, you have streaming guys up to the top 12 or 15, and then after that, it's whatever. This guy is definitely going to finish much higher than where he's going right now in ADP. So when he caught when he caught the ball 3 times or more in a game, he was the tight end 7, 21, 10, 2, 18, 37, and 6. So obviously up and down, but when you're talking you're tight end 2 in drafts, you're going to have up and down games, but his ups were way up. 6 of the 7 games that in his last 7 games, 6 of the 7 games as a rookie in his rookie season, those were his numbers. So he was a top 7 tight end 4 times in those last 7 games. So over 50% of the time. Those are really big for tight end numbers to be hitting that late. He also proved he is highly versatile, catching wheel routes out of the backfield, a threat in the middle of the field, and in short yardage. And he even broke one of those quick little screen passes, I believe it was, for like a 78-yard touchdown. There's absolutely no competition there for snaps at the tight end position, and their wide receiving core is pretty weak right now for competing for targets. So I can see this guy having a real opportunity to be the top 2 or 3 tight end any given week in and week out. So he's a guy that you're going to want to draft in those later rounds because of ADP. You're going to hang on to him when you're streaming your tight ends, and you're going to start him most weeks.
I like it. And where tight ends get drafted, like taking a dart throw at a guy a little bit later than most people are taking their tight ends and having it hit is huge for helping you succeed in fantasy football, especially if you hit with your earlier selections. When you hit on a late round tight end, money. Like
Right.
your team is in a very good shape, especially if you're playing in a league like Frankenstank or the Scott Fishbowl, where tight ends score a lot of points. So I like that. All right. My next breakout, Elijah Moore. Okay. He was also outside of the top 50. All right. Wide receivers in 2022. So I could see him. I think Elijah Moore finishes, say, top 28 in fantasy football this season. He was my wide receiver 3 in the 2021 wide receiver class. You know, John Laub, the Gridiron Scholar, he came on a lot during that draft cycle. And me and him would just gush over Elijah Moore. Jets got him. The Jets failed to use him. The Jets failed to make him feel at home. He's got a chip on his shoulder from all that. All right. Not only does he have a chip on his shoulder, he's got a stud, elite route running wide receiver opposite him named Amari Cooper, who can show him a few things. But not only can he show him a few things, he can show him some openings because defenses are going to be double covering this guy. Elite route runners get double covered. There's going to be bracketed guys all over him. And then also, regardless of what you think about Deshaun Watson, a lot of that mess is behind him, the noise from it. I don't know about his conscience, whatever. That's a whole nother conversation. But the noise is quieted around Deshaun Watson. This has been a quiet offseason for him. The Browns have committed to improving the passing game for him. And what I'm seeing from training camp is him and Elijah Moore connecting. Elijah Moore is explosive. He's a good route runner. He's good with the football in his hands, and he's got very good hands. So I'm liking Elijah Moore. So what do you got next?
Elijah Moore's definitely one of those guys that you're going to see a lot of shorts from the T2T team during the end season. My next guy is a little bit out of the box for me, so I usually try to stay on brand. This week, I'm a little bit off brand by giving you an IDP guy, Nakobe Dean. He's the linebacker for the Philadelphia Eagles. He was the linebacker 169 last season at the end of his rookie year. But here's the reason why I think he could be a breakout guy in his second year. For one, if he does anything at all, he's a huge upgrade from what he was last season. But he was a major cog in one of the best college defenses of all time in Georgia. He was considered a steal in the 3rd round last season for the Eagles. But he was stuck behind Zaire White, who is now playing for the Cardinals, and TJ Edwards, who is now playing for the Bears last season. So a young, athletic, by all accounts, probably going to be very successful linebacker, now has no competition for playing time. He's going to slide right into a very IDP friendly linebacking core in that defense, and he's going to be the guy. He's going to have the opportunity to step up and be the guy. So he's my breakout guy. You got to hope that a lot of people kind of forgot about him, or a lot of people aren't considering him or thinking about this opportunity moving forward. But definitely you're going to have to spend a little bit higher draft on him this time around than maybe you did in the rookie drafts.
Right. And also he gets to play behind Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis. So 2 guys that they might demand double teams, both of them. So linemen aren't going to be able to get to the next level to tackle this. To block this guy and prevent him from getting tackled. So I like Nakobe Dean. You inspired me. I'm going on the defensive side of the football as well. I'm going with Jalen Phillips for the Miami Dolphins. All right. He finished defensive lineman number 23 in 2022. I believe he cracks the top 10. He had 8.5 sacks year 1, 7 sacks year 2. The buzz out of Dolphins camp is that he is absolutely crushing it. Like, he looks like one of the best players there. And that is amongst Jalen Ramsey, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle. They got Devon A-Chain now. So they got a lot of stuff. Javon Holland, Xavier Howard. So they have studs. Christian Wilkins. Like, they got studs everywhere. and Jalen Phillips is the dude being talked up. They added Jalen Ramsey. All right. So I believe due to that, you're going to see quarterbacks hold the ball a little bit longer, or maybe not go to their first read, or maybe not go to their primary target. What's that going to do? It's going to give a little extra time for Jalen Phillips to get in there. With Tua healthy, with the offense clicking, the Dolphins are going to be scoring a lot of points. So what does that mean? They're scoring a lot of points. The opposing team is going to have to throw the ball a lot more to keep up. I think Jalen Phillips is going to get home a lot. An AFC coach. So, you see those quotes on Twitter like, source says, rival coach had this to say. So take it for what it's worth, but a rival AFC East coach had this to say about Jalen Phillips heading into year 3. Jalen will be an all-pro this season in Vic Fangio's defense and opposite Bradley Chubb for a full season. Some inside the Miami building believe that by week 10, Phillips could be making a strong push to be the defensive player of the year. Sign me up. You're up, my guy.
Shayna Mavis knows what's up. All right. So I'm going with the quarterback here, but only because I kind of felt like I needed one for each position. It is a little bit of a stretch for me because I'm going to start off by saying I'm not even a Desmond Ridder guy. But Desmond Ridder is primed for a breakout season. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen this season. Personally, I think Taylor Heineke, who's sitting behind him right now on the depth chart, is probably a little bit better than he is. But regardless, I don't think that Ridder is going to be the long-term solution either way. But with the tools that he has, he's got Drake London there. He's got Kyle Pitts there. He has those great pieces to throw to. And Bijan Robinson is going to be able to keep the defense honest. So with all of that around him, there is a good chance that since we are talking breakouts, he's going to take a big jump, right? So last season, he was the QB 48 overall. And obviously, he didn't play most of the season. So that's kind of smoke and mirrors there. But the fact that he is going to be playing makes him immediately fantasy relevant. He does have the starting spot. And he's going to be a mid to low QB2 with those weapons regardless. So he is somebody to target. He is somebody that you shouldn't just totally avoid because with the weapons around him and the way that they're trying to build that offense young, he has a real opportunity to get some fantasy points. So I'm going with Desmond Ridder as my breakout candidate for 2023.
I like it. When I thought about quarterbacks, that's a guy I was considering as well. He's another guy, could absolutely boom, could absolutely bust. But with the weapons around him, like opposing defenses not having much film on him, there's a very good chance he succeeds. And there's a very good chance he outplays that quarterback 48. I could see him, like I said, I said Trey Lance finishes top 15 quarterbacks. I could see Ridder finishing top 18. That's still like, good quarterback 2 in a super flex league. So
how about a board bet? I do not think that both of them will make top 20.
Well,
one of them will not get in the top 20.
I think that's likely.
Oh, okay.
But I was talking up your breakout player to try to throw you a bone, and you just completely shot it down.
Well, that's here.
Yeah, I get it. All right. So also, you want to get in the Gilded Chat, you want to get in Patreon, because we have some of these breakout players that we're kind of keeping, and we're going to put in the Patreon chat. So if you're a Toilets Titles Title Tribe Patreon member, make sure you check the Patreon chat and Gilded after the show, because Justin's going to be dropping some stuff in there. Go ahead, Justin.
Hey, Pierre Strong absolutely was going to be on my list. I kind of ran out of spots. It was a guy that I wanted to put on there, especially after they dropped James Robinson today. They let him go. So they clearly see something good and Strong. He's going to be that number 2 guy. And you can watch a Dynasty Diamonds that our boy Nino did on the T2T YouTube network as well.
Pull up the next one, what Nate had to say about Trey Lance, because Nate just had surgery. Our guy Nate, shout out, but he must be on some heavy pain medication because he wants to take a board bet that Trey Lance doesn't start a game this year. I will take that. And I was thinking of ways of talking that up, like to just show my confidence in it, but I'm not going to, because this is an alley-oop and you just lost, Nate. So
yeah. I mean, because of the injuries and the situation, like he kind of has to start right out the gate, whether they like it or not. I don't think that there's another healthy arm in that backfield that knows the offense that can do it.
And Nate Nate could use a healthy arm too. So we we appreciate you, Nate. All right. So my final breakout for this season. This is kind of a little bit cheating. I left it, but Chris Olave, he was the wide receiver 23 in 2022. He already looked great, but I think Chris Olave can have an all-pro type season in year 2. I absolutely think he can. One thing I noticed from his film in year 1, regardless of who was at quarterback, when he was getting targeted and when he was getting the football, it seemed like there was no one around him. He created ginormous passing windows. Now, Derek Carr goes down there to New Orleans. Regardless of what you think about Derek Carr, he's consistent. He's going to bring consistency to that quarterback position, which is going to allow Chris Olave to produce regularly on a consistent basis. And that was all that was lacking for him in year 1. So look for Chris Olave to continue to rise and progress. Look for him to continuously get high numbers in that passing attack. Look for 8 to 12 targets a game. Look for, 70 to 115 yards per game. Like, I'm talking big numbers from Chris Olave this season. So I'm telling you, fantasy football, draft this cat. I'm comfortable taking him in the 3rd round. I will take Chris Olave gladly in PPR in the 3rd round. So go ahead, Justin.
Yeah, no, I love it. I have the 12th pick coming up in my home league. It's a redraft, and it's the first year that we've gone super flex with the redraft. So I've done a lot of mock drafts, and Olave is right there at that 3-4 turn for me. I've taken him almost every time. Absolutely, I love the pick. I'm going to give out one more, and then you and I both have one more left that we're going to save.
Time out. How does Nate know that Trey Lance doesn't know the offense in San Francisco?
I mean, I guess.
How would you know that? How would you know he doesn't know Kyle Shanahan's offense isn't algebra? Like you don't just make blanket statements. You don't know that Trey Lance doesn't know Kyle Shanahan's offense. Dude, this is going into his 3rd year in the NFL. That's garbage. Okay. It's garbage. Sorry, Justin.
He just hasn't had the opportunity to show his work. So John and I both have another one that we're going to be saving for the Patreons. So that's in the Gilded Chat. Again, patreon.com/toilets and titles. And I'm going to give out the last one that I'm going to read off here, which is Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson finishes the wide receiver 21 last season. With one of the worst quarterbacks in the league last season, he was still able to get Offensive Rookie of the Year and was the 30th best PPR wide receiver in points per game. And then, like I said, 21 overall. His opportunity shares were extremely high for a rookie, but his efficiency was really low. This comes from being a one-dimensional offense that wasn't even that good at their one dimension. With Zach Wilson out and Brees Hall and A-Rod in, you can now insert a much more efficient offense. The efficiency will be way up, even if the shares and the volume decrease. So that could help kind of balance each other out there. But because of the more efficient offense, this also allows them to be able to move the ball a lot more, get down into that red zone a lot more, and you're going to see a huge jump in those 5 red zone targets that he got as a rookie last season. Offensive Rookie of the Year as a wide receiver, and he only saw 5 red zone targets. That's going to change a lot with Brees Hall running the ball down the field and Aaron Rodgers slinging the rock around. So I can see a huge jump here. As a matter of fact, I'm willing to say right here, right now, Garrett Wilson is going to be a top 5 fantasy wide receiver.
I love it. So Rich wants to do a board bet. He believes Chris Olave outproduces Garrett Wilson.
I'll take that.
All right.
That Garrett Wilson is going to tear it. It's just because Carr's there, dude. You quit losing these board bets because of your Raider fandom.
All right, let me put this on here. Can you read that breakout that Nino has on there while I write this up? It's in there. It's in the comments. So Nino, he's got head-to-head IDP and he's pumping them up. So let us know.
Anthony Walker Jr., the Cleveland Browns linebacker, is his breakout year. Tune in next to find out why on H2H IDP podcast. That's right. They're going to be recording right after we get off here. So make sure you stick around. And if you don't already, make sure you have those notifications turned on, because then it just dings. You click, it takes you right to it.
Awesome, man. So those are the breakouts. I love it. And those are guys that, when you hit a breakout, before he breaks out. Those are the picks that help your dynasty or redraft roster stand out from the rest. Like I always say it, in the first round, you can't miss. Give me a double or a triple. Like sometimes when you swing for the fences in the first round, it's happened to me in the past. You
Yeah.
know, you get a running back at the end of his run and he cools down, he gets hurt. Like when you strike out in the first round, that's tough. So in the first round, I always want safe. And next week we might be doing a Scott Fishbowl SFB 13 mock draft. I'm not sure, but I know 2 weeks from now, Ryan McDowell's coming on. We probably are going to be giving away some SFB 13 entries. I know Justin's not in yet, so maybe we could pull some strings. If you're interested, we could talk to Ryan himself and see. But I know in Scott Fishbowl, you get to pick what spot you want. And I was at 5 and I was like, I want but then I saw some mocks and there's 7 or 8 safe players. Give me a safe player who has a high floor in the first round, but in the second or third round, I need to nail the breakouts because all those other guys that went safe, I need to pass them somehow. And I need to pass them by guys that are going to overproduce where they're being valued early in the season. So Justin, man, I think we knocked this thing out of the park. Everybody at home, like, comment, subscribe. Get in the Frankenstank League. Reach out to me on the Twitter at Coach Sheps. Reach out to the show at Toilets Titles. Reach out to us to get in the Gilded Chat so you can work with us, so you can mock with us, so you can chat with us, so you can talk fantasy football, NFL. Justin, do you have anything to say before you head off into Skyrim and go smite some people out there?
I'm going to make it easy on you guys on the comments. Just tell us who your breakout players are, right? Like, just throw them in there because other people are going to be reading it. We want to see it because, like I said, I've got my own drafts coming up. I'd like to see your opinions.
Excellent, everybody. So we appreciate you. Stay tuned. Head-to-head IDP coming up next. We'll catch you all later on. Take care.